Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and today we're going to create 3 looks with a palette that I have been eyeing for a while and I kind of just finally pulled the trigger and picked it up. This is the Come As You Are palette by Karity. This is just the unit carton. This is what it looks like. On the back here we have all the shade names. They are vegan and cruelty free. As a matter of fact, the little insert that they put in there, you know, between the shadows and the mirror, like this, it's kind of a little frosted thing, and it says this palette helped feed an animal in need. As a 100% cruelty-free brand, we have a big soft spot for our hearts and in our hearts for our animals. For every palette we sell, we donate to our local SPCA through our Palettes for Paws initiative, and you can hashtag Palettes for Paws. So I thought that was really cool. I've only tried Karity once before, and that is with the 21 matte palette. Actually, I really like this palette. It's a good option for colorful mattes, and these perform really well, so I thought I wanted to give Karity another shot and pick up the Come As You Are palette. This retails for $25. This one retails for $29, and I also decided to pick up the Karity Matte Liquid Lipstick. I got the shade As If. I'm wearing it now. I didn't put it on when I first did the look because I kind of forgot about it, but I just put it on for this little intro here, and it's, as you can see, it's a really dark plum color. And on the website, let's see if you can see this right here, it looks just a little bit warmer, a little bit lighter, still like a cool toned red kind of, and it came out a lot darker. So heads up on that with the shades. There's part of me that kind of wish I would have gotten a green. I don't know. Kind of wish I would have gotten a green, but I just kind of stuck to another shade that I don't have. I have lots of nudes, lots of like mauve colors, not a lot of dark colors. I don't wear a lot of dark lips, and I'm trying to venture out into more kind of lip products. So here is the actual palette itself. Again, same thing. It has all the shade names on the back of it here. When you open it up inside, here is the mirror. It has like little alien and lightning bolts, and then it's a good size mirror. It's a very clear mirror. It's not one of those like distorting mirrors at all. Let's see if I can not blind you guys. And this is what the palette looks like. It's a very combination palette. It has a lot of cool tones, a couple warm tones. If I could create my own palette, this is almost the same color scheme I would choose. I would change one thing. Well, we'll get there, but hold on. The one thing that I would change in this palette is I wish this shade was a little bit darker. You can kind of pocket up to get pretty dark, but I love the tone of it. It's like a cool tone brown that's almost so cool tone that it pulls a little like kind of olivey or gray even. It's beautiful. I love it. I would change this shade here. I would make it like a purple, a full on either like a shimmery purple or like just I don't know, any shade of purple really. I don't reach for this shade a lot, so that's the only thing that I personally would have changed. But if you are a warm tone person, this might be a good palette for you to pick up to kind of pull some more cool tones into your looks. There's 6 shimmer shades, and that means that there's 9 matte shades. This neon though, check that out. It's so pretty. I love that shade. I also really love this dark like bluish green down here, and I want to do a look with this peach, but I want to do it with this shade. So I think I'm going to create another look over on my Instagram that I didn't do in this video. So if you want to see that, go check out my Instagram. I'll have that there. But I love this palette. I love the color story of it. Like I said, I just wish that was just a different color. I just don't use that color often. These shimmers are good, but I have to say their mattes is what I love from Karity. I'm not a huge fan of their shimmers. I do use them in one of the looks. I tried to use it in the second look, but it just didn't really work out for me. So they're just not as dimensional as I like, kind of not as foiled, but they're still good. They're still better than a lot of like drugstore palettes I've used and stuff. They're still good, just not as good as I would like them to be, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we're going to create 3 looks using this palette. If you are excited for this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from me in the future, make sure you subscribe. I think that's it. You can pick this up on Karity's website. I don't know if you can really pick it up anywhere else, so yeah, let's go ahead and jump into these looks. For this first look, I'm kind of keeping it neutral. I tend to do a neutral, more wearable look, a colorful look, and something bold and creative. So for the first look, I am starting with the shade Drew, and I'm blending that into the socket. I take it a little bit higher than the crease so that I have more lid space, and I'm keeping most of the pigment on the outer corner of the eye and then sort of blending it in to have more of the color on the outer corner and blending it down to give it more of a cat eye shape. And then we're going to go in with the shade Bogus, and we're going to pack this close to the lash line and angle it sort of from the crease to the lash line, and then we'll softly blend this shade out. And I keep building this shade up as we go. You can I kind of place the shades where I want them and then continue to build them up and softly blend this out. You don't want to blend it out too much. You don't want it to cover your lid. Just kind of keeping that outer corner nice, dark, and sultry. So blend it slightly to the outer part of my crease just to create a little bit of definition. And then I'm using the shade Drew, and I'm placing this on the inner corner with my finger. We just want to highlight that inner corner. It gives a really flattering shape to the eye. And then I'm going to go back in with Drew and just sort of blend the crease and make everything kind of blend together. I really enjoyed this look, so I'll probably do it again, but if I were to do it again, I'd use something with more of a white base and place Drew over the top of that. And then again on my finger, I'm placing Deja Vu in between that highlight shade and our outer corner shade. I really like the kind of mauve base tone to this that kind of matches our transition shade. After I get everything kind of built up to the pigmentation I wanted and blended it out, I'm going to clean it up with a makeup wipe, and then I used the Ofra highlighter in Rodeo Drive as my brow bone highlight, and then I will do the rest of my makeup and be back for the lower lash line. This is a pretty simple look, so the lower lash line is going to be simple as well. We're taking the shade Bogus and we're smudging that up tight against our lower lash line using that small packer brush. And then we'll go in with the shade Seattle that we use as our sort of crease transition shade to blend that out. And then we'll just go in with the shade Drew, that was kind of our highlight shade. And I'm going to place this kind of on the inner corner going outwards, but we will use a different shade later to actually highlight our inner corner. So I didn't really find a highlight shade that I liked for the inner corner in this palette, so I'm using the shade Beam from the Jacqueline Hill palette. It's my go-to inner corner highlight. Just place that there, and then I sort of kind of touched everything up, built pigmentation back up where I wanted it, and then just some lashes and a natural lip. For my lip, I'm using the e.l.f. lipstick in Beautifully Bare. I use the Maybelline 535 Nude just in the center to create a little bit of dimension, and then the e.l.f. Plumping Gloss I think every lip looks better glossy usually. That's just my idea. And that's pretty much it, you guys. That will finish off our first look. Look number 2, I'm using the shade Dank, and I'm placing this again in my socket, so it's just below my brow bone, just a little bit higher than my crease, just because it gives me more lid space. I'm just sort of still learning what works best for my eye shape, and everyone's different, so find what works for you. I keep it a little bit higher on the outer corner, and then of course angle it in. I found with this palette, it works best if you pack the pigment on and then blend it out. Some palettes work better where you just slowly build it up, but this one I think personally works better if you really kind of pack the shadow on and then blend them out. And then I'm going to go in with Psych, this nice neon yellow, and I'm just using that to softly blend out the edge of the shadow. Kind of go back and forth and do this a lot through the look, and it always makes my shadow go closer and closer to my eyebrow. So I try to keep it controlled, but you know, I kind of just went with it. And so I just keep building these two up and blending them together. Since I know I'm going to be doing a cut crease on this look, I decided to go in with the shade Duh in my crease. It just helps when you have a really darker shade in the crease. It helps create a little bit more contrast when you cut the crease and tends to look better. So I'm just defining that crease just a little bit before we go in and cut the crease. And then I will also take that shade Dank, that was our transition shade there, and I'm going to pack that on the inner and outer corner eventually, somewhere, after I get everything blended out. So to cut the crease, I'm just taking my Tarte Shape Tape. I just place that on the back of my hand. I get my little Luxie 245 brush. I love this brush for cutting the crease. And I place this a little bit higher than my mobile lid actually ends. That way when I open my eye, you can actually still see the shadow. So if you're finding that you can't see any of the beautiful eye work that you have just done, try cutting your crease a little bit higher. That way when you open your eye, you can actually see it and the mobile lid doesn't recede into your crease. And then I went in with the shade Riot and just packed that all over the lid. And then I sort of go back and forth with overlapping and softly blending the green and the yellow together. You don't want to move too much around, you don't want to blend too much, but just slightly overlapping and sort of dragging them back and forth helps them blend in together. And then to create dimension, I was trying to place this Drew shade sort of on the center of my lid, or just sort of on the top of my lid anywhere, to kind of create some dimension, give a little bit of reflect there. But the Drew shade just wasn't quite working, and I also tried to go in with Oh Snap, which is sort of a gold, and they're not as dimensional I'd like them to be. They're not as reflective. They're a nice shimmer, but they're not a foiled shade by all means, and that's kind of what I was looking for. So I did this, but I pretty much ended up covering it up with more of the shade Riot and then eventually a winged liner. So if you're using this palette, you can skip this step or grab something just a little bit more reflective from a different palette. And I'm just using the NYX Epic Ink Liner to create a wing, and I'll do the rest of my makeup and be back for the lower lash line. So I want the lower lash line to be really kind of dark and smoky, so I'm starting with just a pencil liner. This one's from Douce, I think that's how you say it, I have no idea. But I'm placing this in the waterline. I like to line my waterline, do whatever makes you happy, and I'm pressing that really into my lashes, and then I'm going in with the shade Bogus, and I'm smudging that sort of over the liner and a little bit lower, and then I'm going to go in with Duh to kind of blend that out, and we're going to use pretty much the same, obviously the same shades we used up top. So after that, we're going to take Dank and we're going to further smoke out that shade. And then we'll go in with the shade Psych after that, which is the neon yellow that we used up top to further smoke out our green liner on the bottom. So after we get our liner smoked out to where we want it, I'm going back with that NYX Epic Ink Liner, and I'm just trying to connect my wing to my lower lash line a little bit more precisely than the pencil liner did, highlighting the inner corner with Ofra Rodeo Drive. And honestly, I can't remember what lip I used on this. Sorry about that. But that's it. After I get my inner corner and brow bone highlighted, that will complete look number 2. And now for my favorite look. The creative looks are always my favorite. So I was inspired by Doll Soul. I'll link her down below, and I taped off my eye. So I'm going at like a 45-degree angle, very sharp high angle from the tail of my brow down. And we're going to take the shade Duh, and we're packing this like on the tape because we want a really sharp line. And we're creating kind of an angled line from the tail of our brow down to our inner corner. So that's going to be kind of the shape we're following. So we're packing this on really well and softly kind of smudging and blending away. And then I went in with the shade Cool Beans, and we're again following that line and blending downwards. So I'm kind of overlapping it with the bluish green and blending downwards. And again, I sort of place the color where I want it and then softly blend the edge. You don't really want to like build it up by blending it out so much as you want to really pack it on there and then blend out the edges. I've noticed that's sort of the rule of thumb when working with really bright colors is pack it on, blend the edges. Especially when you have two contrasting colors like these, you don't want them to get muddy. So then I took Psych and I placed this on the inner corner using a Sigma E55. I really just packed this on there as well as I could. Kind of had to continue to build it up since I was working over that orange shade. And again, we'll go back and sort of build these up. I promise this look is so much easier than it may look. Maybe it looks easy to you, but this is probably the easiest look even. Then we're just going to peel it off the tape and we're going to reapply it where we would place it for the winged liner. And then using Tarte Shape Tape, I created a wing by sort of cutting it out. Honestly, this is easier than doing a pen ink liner. It must be the fact that you're using like a bigger brush, so you don't have to worry about as squiggly lines. But this is a lot easier than it looks. So I kind of, I covered up what I was doing, but created a little wing using the concealer. And then after that I peeled off the tape, and that's where I went wrong. Don't peel off the tape yet. Leave it on until you pack the shadow, because I noticed that's what I did on the other eye, and it was so much more like bright and contrasting. So I'm going in with Psych. I'm pretty much doing the same colors, just in reverse order for the wing. So I'm placing Psych on the very tail of the brow, and then we'll use Cool Beans for the center of the lid, and Psych will be for, of course, the inner corner of the wing. And this would have been so much better if I would have left the tape on, because it would have just been so much more, it would have popped so much more, instead of kind of smudging some of that shadow onto the space that doesn't have the concealer on it. And to get these shades to blend, I, of course, pack them on there, and then with whatever is kind of left on the brush, then I will kind of overlap that with the other shade. So I'm not really like smudging or moving anything around too much, as I'm just kind of packing and softly overlapping. So here I'm just kind of fixing a couple mistakes. I went a little crazy with that blue-green shade and took it a little high, so I was able to take the Psych shade and sort of wipe it away with that, if that makes sense. And then I'm trying to get rid of that Psych shade that got a little crazy on the outer corner. And I also tried going with Duh, like that bluer shade, and outlining the wing just to make it a little bit more contrasting. And it kind of turned out okay, but if I would have left the tape on, I would have never had to do it. So after I have the rest of my makeup on, we're going to do the lower lash line. Basically, all we are going to do is take Psych, and we're going to use that for the entire lower lash line. So I'm really packing it on there. The smaller of a dense brush you have, the more pigmentation you're going to get. So when I use this smaller brush, it really helped that shade to pop. Then for liner, I'm using this Karity Cosmetics liner in Forest Green. And then after that, I tried about 10 different shades of inner corner highlight. So I don't mind the first one. So of course I tried Drew first. That just didn't pop enough. Then I went with my Ofra highlighter, and then I went with the Flower Beauty highlighter. And none of them were just the pop that I wanted. So of course, as always, I settled for the Jacqueline Hill palette in the shade, it's either Beam or Enlighten. One of the two. It's that first shade though. It's so white and it's just the perfect inner corner pop. I also use that for my brow bone highlight, and then I just applied a little bit of mascara, and then I went in with a Juvia's Place liquid lip in the shade Soil, and that will finish off this look, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know which one's your favorite down below. Are you going to try any of them? Do you have this palette? Let me know. I hope you guys have a beautiful day and be the reason someone smiles today.